and welcome to the Art Department Podcast, episode 37 with Emmanuel Shiu and myself, Urschel. And today is kind of an informal part 2 to last week's episode, which was about what is art and what does art mean to us, to me and you. And today is going to be a bit of a continuation, talking a bit about some of the feedback we've gotten through from the episode, and also kind of what we've been talking about with friends and with each other. And it's about the feeling of being lost in terms of your, I think, creative journey, in terms of your career. And the trigger for that was, again, kind of, I don't know, related to NFTs. And I think we've all been kind of working away slowly on big client projects or small client projects, being generally happy with it, because we kind of accepted that is what we're doing and that is what we're going to do for the foreseeable future. But now I think it felt kind of like somebody dangling a carrot in front of us with the NFT stuff, that, hey, how somebody put it with a quote from, how Wayne Hawk put it with a quote from Blade Runner in one of my favorite Twitter updates of the week, where he said, like, kind of like the Blade Runner advertising from the airship going overhead is like this is imagine a future in the NFT colonies, blah blah blah, conditions apply, right? So we've been kind of getting a taste of what it could be like to maybe potentially get paid for our our personal work, stuff we really want to do, because suddenly nobody wanted to do client work anymore, and everybody felt like, hey, I could just be free of everything and just do my thing and get paid a lot of money, like some people luckily did. But then kind of everything comes crashing down, and you think, well, either, after all, I need to put in a lot of time for NFTs, or hey, it's really hard to get seen and I don't like social media and I can't sell anything, so I guess I'm back to the usual grind. And I don't know, how do you feel about this whole thing? Do you feel lost right now?
Well, I think that's a lot. I mean, that's a lot you just mentioned, obviously, to cover. But last year was the pandemic. Right? I mean, not that it's over, but last year the big thing was the pandemic, and I think that caused a lot of people to feel a lot of different feelings, because we've never really had a pandemic, at least not in our lifetimes. And then we kind of got used to that. We got back on our feet. At that time, it was more like, well, you didn't know how to deal with no job, or how the job was going to go, and a new lifestyle, freelance, all that kind of stuff. Now it's NFTs, and like you said, I've noticed, and I've talked to some artists lately that was difficult, because they would say, now I feel lost, because I've been sort of grinding so much on getting professional work done. Now all of a sudden you're giving me complete free reign. I mean, that was the other thing, right? Complete free reign. They don't know what to do.
Yeah, that's true.
Like not only are they lost in terms of what kind of an artist, they're like, well, what do I do? Because a very good point you brought up last time was, when you're working for a client, you have an assignment. You have a property, you have something, right? You got to do something for Disney, whatever project that is, Pocahontas. You have to do stuff related to that world. Now the world is wide open, and I feel like a lot of people are just saying, not only is there this hope of being paid, as an artist, and with that, I have other thoughts, because I think for people like you and me, we're not trying to make rent, right? That's not where, at least that's not where I'm at in my career and my life path. And recently I've been on so many of these Discord servers and listening to so many conversations that I've found that this NFT stuff is actually making a big difference for a lot of these people who are actually great artists, but just making ends meet. And so they're going, okay, now I have another goal. Now I have something I can shoot towards that actually can pay better than client work. So now they're pouring everything into it, and usually it's younger people, right? Because they're still getting their life going. But for those of us who have been in this for a while now, it's almost like the more established you are, the harder it is, the more lost you feel, because you're thinking coming into this space that you can just bring what you had, but you actually don't really even know what you had because all you did was for somebody else, and I don't know that's difficult. And I've talked to a lot of artists that feel the same way. Now you ask me if I feel lost. I think at the beginning I was. I didn't really quite know what to do. And I didn't really know, well, there's a lot of factors, right? What people want, what people like. And then in the end, is that what I want? Is that what I like? And I mean, recently, I just had an experience where I just burned one of my NFTs. And it was all because I was doing sort of this character piece. And the more I looked at it, the more I saw problems with it. And I thought to myself, why didn't I just post it to Instagram and see how it, share with people my journey of character stuff, right? Why did I feel like the need to mint? That's a big question. Like, why? You have no reason to mint that piece outside from FOMO, right?
Of course.
You're like, I did that piece. I got to mint it and show, and it's funny because the more I looked at it, the more I felt like that's not up to standard. Like some things were, some things weren't. And I was like, the more I looked at it, I was like, oh, that leg. Oh, no, look at that hip. Oh, and I just kept going. And it was bothering me. And I think, that's a little deviation from feeling lost, right? But that's just kind of like you're trying to find who you are in terms of like what your art is, what you're trying to say. At least for me. I don't know. Have you had any thoughts like that? Because I know you didn't do anything specific for this.
Yeah.
But
if you're talking specifically about about the recent stuff with NFTs and everything, I feel like I didn't have really time to feel lost. I was in client projects when this whole wave hit, and I kind of was brushing it aside. And we discussed that at length in the NFT episode. So I felt like never I could really fully focus on it. It was just like, oh, hey, this is happening as well. And so, okay, might as well do it. And I didn't have time to make anything new. And didn't have time to think about doing anything specific for that, which I'm actually kind of presented with now. But what do you mean?
Because you have more time.
Now I have more time. Now I'm thinking like, okay, do I not even what I want to do with it, but if I want to do anything with it. Do I really want to get deeper into this? Is it worth it for me? How much would I have to generate to really consider doing more in this field? Like, how much do I need to cover all expenses for any given month? And is this aligned with what I want to do in general? Like, that's also a big question for me. Is this because for me it's always like I have 10 different big projects I want to do on a personal basis, and I'm like, is this NFT thing really aligned with all of these things? Does it help me do these things? And if it's not, then I will not do anything else with it. Then any new kind of image, any kind of new project that I'm going to do is going to be released in some other form, or may not be released at all. If the NFT thing can help with it in some form or another, then maybe I'll consider it. But so I'm
So I mean, for you, basically, it hasn't really
no, but
really made you question, huh?
no, not really in that sense. But I think for me, there was already bigger questions before, and we'll get to that later as well, that are kind of related and that also have to do with feeling lost in the creative journey. And I think NFT is just one incarnation of the same kind of struggle I've been living with for years. And it is related. It is related. I mean, for some people, the NFT thing will be a trigger. For me, something
yeah.
else was the trigger, right? And
What
maybe
what was it? Did you have a specific?
yeah. So I mean, we can kind of go a bit further back in time and maybe talk a little bit about the times we've been feeling lost and how we and if we got out of it, right? So I think that that'll be helpful in kind of sharing with people how they maybe can approach this new challenge that I think a lot of people are facing. So I mean, if I think back, I think there was a couple of times where really even as back as high school, as far as back as high school, where there was always kind of questions as to, so what do I do now? Because I never really had a big plan. I never really had like a huge goal that I would commit to, right? It looking back, it feels more like I'm stumbling from one thing to another. So, I mean, I went through high school without really having a big focus of like, this is what I want to study, this is what I want to do. So I kind of got into photography and then just thought, hey, for the lack of anything else, because my grades were terrible, like the med school is not going to accept me. But I wasn't really interested in med school anyway. So I stumbled into photography school and stumbled right out because they didn't take me. And then again, for the lack of having anything better to do, I kind of stumbled into the whole Japanese thing, because it was just a hobby, and it was a good way to not have to waste a year. So I kind of like stumbled into that, and then didn't have the guts to really like say like, okay, this doesn't make sense for me, or this does make sense for me, and kind of went with the program for another 5 years. And then, but again, there was no like clear path of like, okay, when I'm graduating, I'm gonna do this, because this is what this whole 5 years of study leads up to. That wasn't there for me. So at the end of the study, I was at the end of my program with the master's degree. The only thing I knew was that I don't want to do anything like that for my job. I don't want to be in academia. I don't want to be at a university and become a professor or whatever. That I knew, right? So for better or worse, I kind of checked something off my list of like things I didn't want to do. And then I stumbled into something else, and I stumbled into a more focused graphic design job, because that's what I was doing on the side. But then again, I was kind of cruising in that without committing, without like telling myself like, oh, you need to do something about the entertainment design stuff. Right, because I mean, there was always a passion. I always watched movies, always played video games. Right, the usual story. But I didn't make that commitment to myself. And then again, another external factor kind of pushed me out of the graphic design thing, with my boss basically telling me like it doesn't make sense for you to be here. What do you want to do? And then I mean, basically, that was the first time I really really said what I wanted to do, and again, it was triggered through an external factor, and then I went into concept design. And then after a while, like after a couple of years, I feel like, hey, I need to do something else. I can't only be doing this. That's not the kind of person I am. And
this as in what?
Concept design, like entertainment design, this kind of stuff, what I'm currently doing. So it's like, I can't be doing this continuously. Like, it's not the kind of person I am. I need to be doing something else. And because my self-proclaimed goal was like, okay, I want to work on a Star Wars movie. And so I did that. But after that, it's like, so what's next? And it was a similar thing that Anis said during our interview, that he also didn't have a goal after he reached his initial goal very early on. and it leads to a lot of struggle. It leads to a lot of aimlessness and unfulfillment. And you're like, so what do I do now? What do I do now? And you kind of can keep cruising, right? Because I mean, meaning that if you made it to a Star Wars movie, that doesn't happen overnight. That means you have to build up credibility and reputation and a client base in order to get there, right? So after Star Wars, I could just go into the next job and do something else, and then you kind of jump from job to job to job, and there's always that little voice in your head nagging you, telling you like, okay, like this is not fun, like you shouldn't be doing this, why are you not doing something else, like what you really want to be doing, kind of thing. And I always was very afraid to jump on something else, to commit to something else, because as you get older, right, there's more responsibilities in terms of the responsibilities you have to your family, the responsibilities to like financially, right? You have a mortgage, you have a car, you have all these kind of things, right? You need to look forward to accumulating some money for your retirement. I don't know, your parents get older, they might get sick, you have to help them, you have kids, you have a wife, you have this, you have that, right? All these kind of things kind of you need to grow up at some point, right? You can't just always be kind of living from day to day and abusing your body, right? You need to take also like downtime to recover, to take care of yourself, all these kind of things, which really don't make it any easier to just go off on a tangent and just do that kind of project for a month or 2 or 3 because you just like doing it, right? It's just not that easy anymore. So I always felt like too much of a responsibility towards this and that I felt like, okay, now I'm really too old to just be doing this kind of nonsense, right? I should be just completely focused on saving as much money as possible. And then we had an interesting conversation during last week's Clubhouse with Emery Watson, and he mentioned he's in the same kind of position where on top of everything, what he is personally interested in and what he works on are not necessarily related, right? So, I mean, it's great for yourself and for your career and your personal satisfaction if, let's say, you just love drawing Godzilla, and Godzilla coincidentally makes a lot of money at the box office, and they're making Godzilla movies. So everything is kind of really nicely aligned, that your personal interest is aligned with what you do for work, and it's also aligned with kind of like, how to say, like with just popularity, with like popular movies, right? But so now in Emery's case and in my case, it's like, okay, so what I'm interested in personally is this really weird, strangely avant-garde thing that only a very tiny niche of people is interested in, and we don't quite know what to do with it, because there doesn't seem to be any common ground between the kind of stuff we do for money, like the usual kind of like Marvel like movie kind of movies, or kind of like Halo video games or whatever, right? And there doesn't seem to be any overlap between our personal interest and what we do for work. And then it becomes really difficult to say like, okay, I want to dedicate 6 months or whatever on this project that I need to do for myself. But from which I know it's not going to be useful for my portfolio. Like I can't advertise this, or I can't use this as marketing material to my existing client base, to my existing social media accounts, to my fan base. It's, if anything, this is going to alienate my fan base, so to speak, and they're going to leave. And that is an incredibly difficult decision to make, to then say, okay, like this is important to me, and I need to prioritize. I need to find time to do this. But at the same time, I know that this is gonna not derail my career, but really put brakes on my career, because I need to relearn certain things. I need to learn different kind of things that will not be useful related to my job. And then you really question yourself, like, should I even be really doing this? and it's a tricky thing. And I mean, I don't know if you've ever felt like that, if you had any of these kind of thoughts. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think ultimately it's making life choices. I think for you, it's been a lot of always trying to find the next thing that you want to do, and that's the kind of person you are. And you know, a lot of people want to set goals, and I think a lot of people are like you know the example of Emery, or just you know your job not exactly aligning with sort of your project that you want to embark on, you know, or the new style you want to do. But you know, here's what I think about that. I think like there's an artist named David Raposa. I'm sure you've heard of him. So he, you know, he tried a different style, and a lot of people say, why don't you go back to drawing, or why don't you go back to doing, you know, what you used to do? And he said, hey, look, I don't care. I'm just going to do it until you like it. And the truth of it is, and I think this is the big one here, is this: I think a lot of people are. I mean, I'm really not into setting goals anymore. You know, because, you know, I my whole life has been about goals. You know, like, oh, go table tennis. You know, make the team and do this and beat this person and do that, and then okay, work on this film and that film. I think at some point I just wanted to do what resonates with me, you know, art-wise, and hopefully that will have a place. And I think the big problem and the scariest thing for me is that I saw this NFT thing going, well, this may be my out. But instead of going, okay, well, you know, what am I about? You know, what do I want my art about? Because if you're about, hey, I really want to tell stories, you can do that in both sides. You could do it for work, because you can, you know, you're hired to tell your stories, but you know, somebody else's stories, right? Not yours. Of course. And then you do your own thing when you have time. And you know, sometimes you may find enough success in this area that you can move on to just doing that. But I think ultimately it begs a lot of questions, like, of course, the people who make it, right, it's easy for them,
of course,
to say, oh yeah, I'm completely in now. But here's the thing is, even people who are making a lot of money aren't quitting their day jobs. And I guess my question is, you know, what would it take? I mean, like, a lot of people think this is the rainbow, you know, like, wow, you know, NFTs, I can quit my job. Okay, can you really quit your job? Like, I think it's a lot more difficult than you think, because, you know, when you realize that it's not sort of that, you know, huge payday that you're thinking, right? I mean, you know, even if you got paid $1 million, you can't just quit your job, because when you just quit your job, guess what you're going to do? You're going to alienate, like you said, all your clients. Like, your clients are going to be like, okay, well, you're not available anymore, and that's it. And you know, you may sell a couple things and make, you know, some money from it, and then it does give you some time, but it also could, you know, hurt you in the long run. But I'm curious to ask you, you know, how much would it take for you to say, hey, I'm not doing any more client work, I'm just doing my own thing? And do you have your own thing that you want to do?
That's a good question. I mean, I have ideas, right? I have things like, oh, this would be cool to do. This would be great. And this is what I want to do. And some of it has, like I said, a goal in order, an ulterior motive. But I think for me, I need to, maybe I see goals a bit more broad, as in like, I need to have like a goal in mind in order to just get moving. If I don't have a goal, then I feel like I can never motivate myself to get anywhere. But anyway.
So wait, hold on. So the goal for you is, like, give me an example of a goal.
I don't know. Like a goal could be finish a short movie, right? Okay. I don't know, a 3-minute short movie. Then that would be a goal. A goal could also be like where it goes more into like a business plan of like, okay, I wanna help artists with putting out free educational materials about concept art, right? And then that would be potentially about building up a big YouTube channel, or I don't know, make tutorials and that kind of thing, right? So I see goal as more like a fluent kind of thing that can take various kinds of shapes and forms, but I just need this kind of stuff. Otherwise, I can't get moving. If it's just about like, hey, I wanna see if I could do a YouTube channel, then that's not gonna work for me.
Let me ask you this: Do you feel like, because some people have a lot to say, right? They have a lot they want to talk about and present to the world. Do you think that maybe you're not quite like that?
No, not at all. Not at all. I don't feel like I mean, to a certain degree, I feel like what I have to say does not have enough value to be put out there. But because maybe it's a cultural thing, or maybe it's just me personally, that I feel like I don't want to put myself above the rest. I don't want to like stand there and pontificate and say like, oh, what I know is the law or whatever. So I'm not like that at all. But I mean, I need to overcome that to a certain degree in order to do something, because at least what I believe is that in the beginning, when I made tutorials, I thought they sucked. They were really bad. But then you do it more and more and more and more, and you get better at it. So I feel like in order to get to that point where I do know something and I can explain something, I need to do it like 100 times. And then what I have to say will be of more value to people. And but yeah.
There's so much focus on goals, in nowadays. Is there not enough? I feel like, is there not more focus that should be put on process and the experience, right? Because sometimes I feel like, yes, I'm super goal oriented, but at some point, I'm also trying to learn how to just enjoy that process.
Yeah. I mean, that needs to be
creating.
Yeah, definitely. But I feel like for me, the process and the improvement of the process and the enjoyment of it is an inevitable side effect of having a goal. Because I know that my goal can change. I know, and I'm always open to that. I'm open to let the process dictate where this will bring me. Like, I mean, one of the things, like for example, this podcast, right? So I think one of the initial goals was for me personally, to talk a lot about the business side of being an artist. And I think we covered that partially in the early episodes. And I thought that would be the biggest thing for me personally and for also the audience. But I mean, I think it has completely turned around, and what's most important to me, and I think the audience, is all about the mental side of things, whether that is positive or negative, and how we as artists react to certain developments, and that it's not all about the business side, right? So there again, the process and the evolution of this podcast has kind of changed the goal. I mean, I don't know. Do we have a goal with this podcast? I don't know.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, and I think that's a good example, because the truth of it is, first of all, I never had a goal with the podcast. I mean, because I just didn't. We didn't know what it was going to be, but I didn't have anything more than I want to share.
Yeah.
And I think not having a goal for the podcast is actually the best thing for the podcast, because it just means we enjoy doing it. Like, I look forward to talking to you about whatever we're going to talk about. Like right now, we're discussing certain things, and I think we bring up, and we're different enough that we have different points of view, but we bring up some really important points. And today's sort of kind of loose subject is feeling lost, and I just think that for me, I mean, I go through it all the time, but I'm also the kind of guy that has so much that I want to say, and I'm always trying to find ways to say it, and then I'm very susceptible to what's happening at that moment, right? So It could be the pandemic, and then I feel really depressed, and then I don't know what to create. But it could be now with NFTs where I come into the space and I think, and I'm confused at what am I supposed to show the world? What am I supposed, what style am I supposed, I mean, and if you look at my thing, it's just like all kinds of different style. I didn't really know who I was as an artist. And I realized that I'm actually for the first time really developing as an artist. And to enjoy that development, yes, you're going to feel lost. And I think feeling lost is not a bad thing. You feel lost until you're not.
Yeah.
I really feel that, because at some point you're going to feel lost and you try. I mean, hopefully you're not feeling lost and you quit. I mean,
Well,
happen,
yeah.
you feel lost, but there are ways that you can get out of it. Like for me, personally, I enjoy when I feel lost to go back to some very basic things, which is like what life's about. What am I trying to say? Ultimately, if you're trying to tell a story, what's the way you want to tell it? At least you have you have, okay, I'm going to try to tell the story. And then you'll know, when you do art, whether it resonates with you or not. But I mean, going back to basics for me works really well. Like I've come up with a lot of ideas on my bike rides now. Like I'm sure because you said the same for you for running.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. I stopped listening to music. I used to listen to like podcasts and music while I run, but I stopped that completely. It's just like an hour
sound.
of uninterrupted, just like thought processing, and I think that's the best way. Because
I came up with all the best shots and ideas, and now all of a sudden, I have a bunch of projects that I know I want to do, and what I need, what I'm trying to express and say with it. But like I said, I was just really surprised when I talked to some of these really seasoned artists, and they're saying, I don't know what to do because my stuff's not selling. Do they just not like my stuff? Is my style not good? Do people even care? Like, I've built this career over 20 years. No one seems to care. No one wants to get my stuff. It's tough, and it's I think it's hurting a lot of people or artists who have established themselves, but without. I mean, when you're always working, you're working, right? You're just constantly working. It's hustling. You're working. But when you have something like this laid at your feet, and to say, hey, now you got to be a fine artist, it's a very difficult thing. And I think for a lot of people to just be kind on themselves and take it easy, because there's no real strategy. There isn't. I mean, there are certain strategies, but you never know what people are going to collect or not. But what you do know is how you feel doing the art. What you do know is what you feel about what you're trying to say. And I think if you hold on to that, it will all work out. I mean, I'm doing that right now because I have to. If I just look at why this and why that and why is that person and all that, I'm never going to be happy just being here with myself, I'm almost like living at somebody else's house because I'm always concerned with somebody else's. What are they making and what is that? Oh, forget it, man. Close your door. Go woodshed. Just close your door. What are you trying to say? Who are you as a person and as an artist, and go for it. And I'm curious to see about you, because I know you have something to say in your photography. It's just that I always felt that it's nothing, and it's something not worth showing, because I always feel like you're kind of not sure about it. I don't know. Is that
I think it
accurate
needs.
at all?
I think it's partially true. I think what I need to what is needed is just to sit on it for a bit longer, to spend more time developing or clarifying for myself and the audience what the idea really behind it is. And I've like you said, I've never allowed myself to do that because, hey, there's another client job. Oh, I need to do this. Oh, I need to do that. Oh, I need to make some more money. and it was always at the you sacrifice something for it, right? And the sacrifice comes in terms of putting it on the side burner, slowly forgetting about it, and then you suddenly 2 years have passed, and you're like, wait a minute, I wanted to do that really badly. What happened to that, right? Did I? And then maybe, I mean, sometimes it's better for some ideas to sit for a while and then come back to it a year later to see is there still something there that interests
Sometimes
me?
it's not, though.
Yeah, sometimes it's not, but it's you can't do everything, right? Not every director can make every movie they want to do, right? And sometimes it's for the better. Like there's enough examples of like directors or the marketing line for that particular movie is like, oh, like this director wrote this movie 25 years ago and then he now finally has the means to make it, and then it's the worst movie he ever made. So it doesn't mean,
but I mean, it may be the worst movie, but it may be his favorite movie.
I don't know.
And I think sometimes there's a lot in that, because I mean, I'll just be completely, I mean, sometimes something I really love doesn't mean everybody else loves it. And that's, I mean, this,
how do you deal
this
with
journey. Sorry?
How do you deal with that then?
It's tough, and that's why this last month and a half it's been a roller coaster ride, and it really makes you, it shakes you, and it says, who are you? What do you believe? Who are you? What do you believe? Because, oh, I'll give you a high, I'll give you a low. I'll give you a high, I'll give you a low. And at some point you're going to have to figure out, hey, you know what? I like it, and if people don't like it, then it's not for everyone. I get it, because it is what it is, but you have to be very clear on how you feel doing it, and ultimately in the end what it looks like to you and how you feel about it. And if you are feeling positive and you feel fulfilled doing it, then I think nobody can say anything. Now, we're always putting work out to be judged. First it was just Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. Now it's like actually price tag associated with it, which makes it even more, much harder. And it's breaking a lot of people, because people are just, it's empowering like 5%. It's breaking like a lot more than 5. You know what I mean? Because because there's only 5 to 10% who are actually making it, right? And then there's maybe another 30% that are doing okay. And then there's like 60% who are losing their gas fees.
Yeah, that's true.
And I feel like a lot of, this NFTs for artists will contribute to a lot of depression and a lot of feeling lost. I mean, and I think ultimately it's the same thing, right? How do you get out of that?
Even the thing about like, oh, you're saying they're making it, but that doesn't even have any meaning, I think, because everybody's idea of making it is very different. If, like, let's say, I mean,
I'm just purely saying monetary.
Yeah, right? No. Even in a monetary sense, like, let's say somebody is selling an NFT for $250,000. That might be a lot for some, but maybe for the artist who sold it, maybe he's already a multimillionaire. Maybe this $250,000 is just like nothing to him, and he's going to buy himself a new sports car. Because he already has everything, sure. And it might be just like a joke to him. And for others, it's like a decade's worth of paying rent, and so it's all relative again, right? It's all relative again.
Yeah, but I think making it more in the sense that at least in the space they're making money. They're the top earners, okay, right? And the top earners, there's only sort of 5 to 10% that are actually making a substantial living. That you could make a living out of it. And for a lot of them, it's just kind of like these aren't numbers that are proven, but what I'm seeing is I think there's this 30-40% gap which are making okay money, like okay in terms of like you could maybe live on it if this kept going, right? And then because the top earners, like they're making we're talking hundreds of thousands to millions. Now, you definitely can, that's definitely top earning, right, in my book, because that's just based off of, a month or two.
But is that even sustainable?
Is it sustainable, and is it something that I mean, is it enough? I mean, ultimately the question is, can you just leave your job for that? I mean, because who knows what's going to happen? This is very volatile. But what I'm more interested in is how it actually makes you feel when you see that, right? You're this pro that's come into the space and you're in the bottom of the, just barely scraping by in this world rate. And you're looking at it going, it makes you question yourself, right? I mean, the once confident artist is now going, what's wrong? Am I just not, am I not playing the game right? Am I not doing good art? Is it, so a lot of this, I think, is noise that needs to be, unfortunately, I think for a lot of these people, you have to shut off a little bit. And shut off, I mean, shut off from social media or at least a little as possible. Go do your art.
Yeah.
Ultimately, go create your art. Go create your masterpieces. Feel good doing them. Go back to who you are, what makes you tick, all these really big questions. Because usually, your best projects stem from these questions, right? I mean...
Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, it's everybody is showing you, everybody's telling you that at the same time, you need to also advertise yourself and sell and market and everything and be present on Twitter and everywhere. So, I mean, it's incredibly difficult to pull off to then...
but I mean,
shut
if
yourself.
you don't take a break...
Yeah, of course. But it's like...
I mean, because the truth of it is if you don't take a break from that, you're going to go down more into this loss. Loss is not exactly the... I mean, I don't want loss to become depression, to become, to sidebar into something that's really negative. I just think that, the more social media, the more comparison, the more all this makes you more lost. Because, now FOMO is coming in and I'm missing out and all this, but you are not missing out. Because ultimately, if you keep FOMOing, that is what's going to, your focus is going to be on that day in, day out, day in, day out. Instead of wiping that away as much as possible and taking the time back and making your own art, then you don't have to FOMO anymore because you have something worthwhile. But if you're doing FOMO every day, I guarantee you're just clicking refresh, on your piece that you put up or whatever. It could be Instagram and you just kind of look at the likes. Just shut that out and create the best of you. I mean... You at least if you did that, the time you were creating that, you're happy.
Yeah, that has to account for something, right? I mean,
I don't know. I mean, that for me, that's making
yeah.
sense, right? Because that's working for me, and I'm actually turning into projects. I'm turning in 2 projects that are making, that are have more meaning. Not only to me, but the world around me. And it's making me feel good about doing what I do. Now, that project is going to take a while to do. So I won't, but I'm okay. I'm curious if it was you. I mean, what kind of things would you do in that situation? I know you're not feeling lost, but...
the thing is, right, like... You always hear, like you said in the beginning, you hear the success stories of people who made it, who is saying things like, "Oh, I wasn't really planning to make any money," but and then a couple of weeks later they are millionaires or whatever.
Ben, right? we talked to him right before.
There's these kind of stories, but you never hear about the people who said, "Oh yeah, I followed what I really would like to do, and it didn't get me anywhere." Right? You don't hear these stories. Nobody likes to tell these stories, right? You don't read about them online, and unfortunately, or maybe I don't know. Unfortunately that. There's one person who becomes a millionaire and then 10,000 people who didn't go anywhere. And so the thing is now, right? For me, I don't put really any value in stories of people who had success, but they just kind of stumbled into it because just for some reason the timing was right, their style was aligned with what people like, and so forth, right? But it wasn't really a calculated effort of making that amount of money. So whatever they did just kind of is more happenstance, more happy accidents than a calculated success story, right? And for me, it's like sorry, I'll just add one more thing. I mean,
go.
For me, it's like, well, if you're happy doing what you do, it's great, and that should be the focus. But if let's say you spend a lot of time on that thing that you really love doing, and in the end you lost a lot of money and it didn't go anywhere, and it feels like you just wasted time, would you do it again just for that feeling?
Well, I think there's twofold to that. First of all, if you are truly an artist, then it's something you cannot not do, right? I mean, it's something you have to do. I mean, how do you tell like a painter that has to not paint? I mean, they have to do it. That's their way they express themselves as a person. So I think ultimately it's something they're going to do regardless. It's just the attitude you go into doing it, right? I mean, you could have a lot of overshadowing thoughts and feelings and all this kind of stuff. Maybe you can even use it to make better art. But the truth of it is, I think that people are going to do what they do, and I don't think that experience can, I mean, unless of course I mortgage my house to make this project, then yeah, okay. And there are many people who do that. They do the short film, they mortgage their house, and it wasn't successful. But I don't think I've ever heard anybody that have done these projects tell me, hey, I regret doing that. They've always come out of it learning a lot about themselves, a lot about the process. And then success is a funny thing. I mean, what is success? What, like paying your bills, is that success? Or bringing up your children and doing a good job, is that success? Do you need to be a millionaire to do that?
Good question.
Can you? So what is success to you? I mean, so for a lot of people, like I know somebody that says, hey, you know what? I can make my ends meet with, roughly $1,000, $1,500 a month, including rent. I can make my ends meet with that. So I can now do whatever the hell I want because I need very little. So to him, he makes that much and then he has time that he can go do what he likes. That's success already. But for other people, they need to make $1 million a year because they want a lavish lifestyle. They need to get that next sports car and bigger house. So what is success to you? And how does that factor into, being lost? Because a lot of times when you feel lost, I mean, you could feel lost as an artist, right? You don't know what style to do. I mean, I've heard that a lot. Like, what style do I do? I just say, just screw the style. Just go draw, paint, whatever you feel at this moment. That's what your style is. And that can change. I mean, I don't see that it's toxic. One thing is toxic about this NFT world is that when you really dig into it, and I've had a lot of conversation with collectors, and they're, what they're saying is not wrong, but they're saying if you have a consistent style, then we know what we're buying. And what we're buying then has a lot of value because people can see it from a mile away. They know that's a, XYZ painting or whatever, right? And that makes sense, total sense. But it's remember that the price of everything. Larry Poons said, hey, I'm done with that style. I don't want to do it anymore. I'm doing another style. So I think ultimately, forget style. Just do what works for you in the end, as long as it makes you happy, know. And I honestly just don't think people are going to regret doing that, because that time spent, like if the time spent doing your photography, right, and actually going out there maybe with a film camera and shooting all that, it may not make you any money, but you had fun doing it. I don't know, that counts for a lot to me.
True.
I mean for you, I think you're much more sort of logical, like, okay,
definitely.
Well, because you have kids and you have all these responsibilities. You're not just making money for yourself now. But are you, because we talked about, maybe using another platform to do our photography stuff, right?
Yeah.
Is that something that you would say, hey, I'm going to
Yeah, I wonder,
really.
is that going to be a good idea, or is it going to be even more damaging? Like, let's say again, like you're putting yourself out there, right? You're like, okay, here, this is like even more personal, like, and then you have maybe very little success with it, right? Could that be more damaging? Could it be better to just keep it to
Damaging
yourself?
in what way?
Damaging, and as in like, oh, I shouldn't do this anymore because nobody likes it, kind of thing, right? In this, like,
Well, I
oh,
think
this
a
is
lot of this.
it's not selling, blah blah blah. Nobody likes
Yeah,
it.
I get that. I think a
Yeah.
lot of this stuff though, it's here to test. I think a lot of this stuff tests you as an artist, as a person, because the moment you say, you know what, I think this is good. I really do. I think this is good. And I think that I would like to share it with the world. And if no one wants to buy it and no one likes it, I still love it. And it's funny because I mean, I was telling my wife, I said, one of my gauges for whether I love something I did or not is, would I put it up on the wall?
By yourself, in your own place of it.
In my own space. And if the answer is no, I don't love it. And it's really clear. Like the piece I just burned, I wouldn't. And I had a hard time getting past the it's just not right, and not everything has to be put up there. But I would love to see you explore in photography. I mean, it's just I want to, and I've wanted to. It's just that I think, there may also be a part of that that's like, I don't know,
it's tricky.
But I think what I want to see is not so much you selling on an NFT platform.
No.
I want to see you doing photography.
Yeah.
I just want to see you shooting again and really going out there. I mean, it doesn't have to be for a platform. It could just be like, I have a photography Instagram handle. I
do actually. There's just nothing there. It's just empty.
Yeah, but I mean, you also really, to be
yeah.
fair, you haven't done anything.
Yep, of course not.
Lately. So, like, I'd love to see you do that. And it really doesn't take much time. I mean, you go out there, you're in Singapore, you could shoot your kids, for God's sakes.
Jesus, nobody will ever see that.
Or shoot anything you want, right?
Exactly.
I mean, whatever. I just want to see you also, come out and forget client work for a moment. What are you passionate about right now?
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know. I mean, did you have any other question?
Question? No, to you? No. Right now, I don't. I'm going through the rest of our notes right now, and kind of thinking how we can segue into something else. But yeah, I mean, what you say is really true. I mean, it's there comes a point when you really need to do something about it, and ideally you should kind of keep your urges, your ways of expressing yourself in a healthy balance, in order not to go crazy in either way, either too much of free time or too much of client work. Ideally, it should always be a healthy balance. But of course,
well,
right,
I mean, any extreme, right?
Yeah, any extreme is bad. But yeah, there needs to be.
I mean, okay, so here's something that actually helped me. I mean, I don't know if you have maybe other things that help you when you're feeling that way, but I know lately I've been going on these Discord servers, and I've actually found some groups of people that I actually enjoy listening to, and it's helped me to kind of go, and it's helped me sort of learn, or not learn, but to get to know other artists and their struggles and how they feel about certain things. And I learn a lot from them, and it inspires me, right? You might meet somebody who says, hey, like, I really love doing this, and you share, and then all of a sudden you're amped up and excited. I think that's one way to sort of feel, because I was talking to my wife today, and she was, well, I mean, do you really have to talk to somebody? Like, what do you do when you're lost? And sometimes I think for some people, they withdraw into their space and they really kind of dissect it and get through it. Some people need to talk to other people. But the resources are all there. I mean, especially now that you know,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not promoting going out to meet people, but but in the States, that's what's happening. I mean, we went out today; it was just like packed everywhere.
Jesus.
And you know, we were just going to get food, right? Like what we normally do to bring home, and it was just like, are you kidding me? But it's nuts. So, you know, I just.
Yeah, I think I mean, for me personally, what helps a lot is, I think, a healthy like do the opposite of or achieve a balance. Like I need a lot of alone time to process things, to really figure out what I want to do. And then, of course, there's also these like bursts of time where I need to socialize, and where it's good to get somebody else's opinion. Not even on anything specific, just to talk to somebody else who leads a different lifestyle, or I don't know, a friend who just has different problems, and listening to them a little bit to see what they're struggling with, right?
Sure.
And then I don't know, I need that alone time again to kind of just process and clarify for myself, because again, like you said, in the end, it's about what you want to do. It's about not pleasing anybody else. It's just purely doing something for yourself. And I think sometimes with all the responsibilities that we talked about, it is important to also make sure you still do something for yourself, right? I mean, not to say you should neglect your children and not pick them up from kindergarten or whatever, not to that degree, but there needs to be a certain amount allocated for, I don't know, self-care, whatever that includes, right? That might be reading a book or doing something for, I don't know, for your health. Or actually, no, I should exclude that, because doing something for your health is a absolute must, regardless of whatever happens around you. That is a must. So whatever falls under self-care is really things you do for your own mind, I think. Whether that is like something creative that you do, or something books that you read, or like really really quality time for yourself. If you like making coffee, then just make a lot of coffee, I don't know. Or if you like to cook, right, I don't know, like but it has to be purely something non-basic,
have something that you can, I mean, I want to reiterate that basically for a lot of us, I think for a lot of people, they think that just because you're established in an industry that you don't have these problems. A lot of people think that. They think, oh, well, you know, you have it all figured out. You've been through the ringer. You know everything. No. And I'm telling you right now, people with tons of notoriety and experience, they go through this all the time. So you're not alone. This is, everybody has that in common. At some point in your life, you're going to feel lost. And I think it's just, and this NFT thing just has it really is a real big trigger, and it's a very easy trigger to make you feel certain feelings. And I think really acknowledge it, you know, and obviously we're not just talking just because of NFTs, right? But I mean, this is just what's happening now, and it's a huge thing, and it's on everyone's mind, especially as an artist, because you're just kind of like floundering around going, how do I make sense of this thing? And you know, making sure that you're not missing out, and that, you know, your hard work is being, you know, like rewarded now. There's no such thing.
You wish.
Especially in the art world, there's no rhyme or reason why one person just kind of makes it. I mean, there is some strategies, but ultimately, you know, who knows why this rabbit, you know, is making it, and why exactly. You know, isn't. Of course, there are things you can analyze, but
there's things you can do in order to increase your chances of success, but it's not like it's not like somebody you can recommend to say, like, okay, you do X and Y, and then the result will be $1 million. It's not going to be like that. It's you can increase your chances by doing this, and then in order to have it succeed, you can do X, Y, and Z, and then maybe you have a 10% greater chance of making a certain amount of money. But that's as far as it goes. But I mean, that
Yeah,
applies
do
to
some pink
everything.
astronauts. There's a good chance
Yeah,
you'll
check
get
it.
something.
Astronauts, and then
Pink, neon. But I mean, who knows?
actually,
I
it would be
mean,
interesting
do
though.
you.
Like the interesting thing for me would then to be thinking about. Sorry to interrupt you. Just to think about. Okay, so why does it work? Why do these elements work? What is it about the psychology of the colors? What about the topic? What is the underlying idea that makes this interesting to somebody? And then think about that instead of putting astronauts on your paintings, for example. I don't know.
Yeah, no,
Right?
that's great. That's a great way to analyze something and
Mm.
really go deeper with it. And I believe me, I've been through talking to collectors going, oh my God, I got to make things good for the collectors. But now you're just having a new client again. And honestly, it's your job to really first enjoy what you're doing, and whatever comes out of it, if you think is good enough to hang on your wall, in my case, that's
good. Good idea.
then maybe it's good enough to put up there if you think is appropriate. But learn from my mistakes is that not everything needs to be put up.
That's true.
It's that simple.
Yeah.
Because you go put some sketch up, like I'm a perfectionist. Yes, I am. I look at that piece and I'm like, every day I look at it, the more was wrong with it. I was like, no, I got to burn this.
Yeah, the thing is though, right? It's like we were kind of saved from that feeling, right? We were kind of saved because
The client approves it, right?
you just hand it into the client. The client says, "Yep, that's good," and then you hand it in, and you never ever look at that image again. Or maybe sometimes you do. Maybe you look at it again when you're like actually thinking of uploading it once the project is released.
Yeah, and then I repaint
and it's
it.
like, oh my God, that looks terrible. And then you don't need to share it, and nobody ever knows, and you're safe. But now it's like it's up there, and you actually have to spend money to burn it, and that I think makes a lot of people.
But you know what was worse for me was that I was thinking, what if someone bought it? Then I would really look at it and go, I can't even take it away.
Yeah,
and
then
this
it's
is
forever
representative
on the
of my
blockchain.
work now. And while I liked the painting, I didn't love it. And honestly, it was not an easy thing to sort of evaluate on yourself. But I think that ultimately I'm glad I did. But it's a good lesson, and I think it's a good thing to share with everybody, especially if you're doing NFTs, to have a thought about it and to be more aware of what you're putting out there and what needs to be put out there, and just enjoy your time on the space. I mean, I think NFTs are here to stay. It's just that, who knows, how it fluctuates though,
Yeah.
because I've heard some people are quitting their jobs. And I'm like, oh, that's dangerous. I know people who are making a lot who aren't quitting their job. So it's, I just think it's dangerous because there's not enough data to support leaving a job for this.
Yeah.
There just isn't. And so I'm like, just be careful. So, but I mean, ultimately, I think being lost, I think we've covered, sort of, I mean, nobody's the expert here on,
No.
here's what you do. You take 2 Advil and you're good to go. It's not like that. There's so many things, and different things work for different people. But I would just say, try to enjoy as much as you can and shut off the noise.
Yeah, that
That's
will help.
me.
I think that is the right way to look at this, and really be honest with yourself, right? Have a think about, go for a walk and really think about the things that bring you joy in the end, right? And like you said, the money can't always be the main motivation behind everything. First and foremost, take care of yourself and figure out what. And if some people don't know what makes them happy, actually, because they have been doing client work for so long, and maybe for them the first step really needs to be, take a walk and really think about, figure out what makes you happy in the end, right? And what plays what plays creativity and expressing yourself, and I don't know, painting, designing, drawing has within that, right? I mean, it could be for some people that what makes you happy has nothing to do with any of these, right? Maybe you like doing it as your job, but maybe what makes you happy is, I don't know, playing with dogs. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is like a lot of, and I was also telling people, oh, go, this is, my experience was, I went out and these things helped me. But I think for a lot of people, they can't just go out and, clear their minds and then they're good. I think it's just one of these things where I think just try to enjoy your time, and whatever happened will happen, because ultimately it also becomes stressful when they're going out. Okay, I'm now on a walk. I'm trying to find myself. And then they're like, I don't find anything. What am I going to do? What you said, go out on a walk. And I think it's a very easy thing to suggest because it actually works for a lot of people. But I think for a lot of people, just be in that space that you're in and just be okay with being there. Because that's what's happening right now. And if it ever got to a point where it was like, you feel like, oh, I'm really like depressed or not happy, find a therapist. Talk to a therapist. It's a really good thing. I mean, and I have friends who are doing it. And I honestly, if I felt like I was going down deeper and, because right now I feel quite strong because I went low and then I'm back up, I would go to a therapist in a heartbeat because why not? There's absolutely nothing wrong with it, but you don't have to always find an answer. Sometimes being in it is enough, and being okay with being in it. I mean, that's I know it's getting all.
No, this is great. Is we have two different approaches, right? So
well, no, your approach is absolutely great, and it works. It's working for me, but it may not work for a lot of people who actually have really. I'm on this walk. I don't.
I think to force a solution is not going to work, right? I mean, there's elements I think to both which really can help people, right? One is like getting out of your familiar kind of environment and do something you wouldn't usually do, or the other one is like find your peace within your space, because if you can't stand, like for example, if you can't stand being in your office, if you like, as soon as I go in I do my client work and then I leave, then because we associate, like as humans, we associate so many things with, I don't know, the look, the smell, the feeling of sitting in front of the computer, right? And if you can't stand being in front of it because of all the bad experience you had, then that is not good either, right? So
change the position of your computer.
Exactly, right? I don't actually, that can help, dude. That can help. Like rearranging your office.
Absolutely can.
Man, that can really help.
And cleaning up can help.
Cleaning up,
because clean room, clean mind. I'm guilty of my stuff always looking like an explosion. But when when it is clean, you feel differently, and I think, I think anything to make you feel calmer is always good. I mean, at least for me, because I'm always getting worked up about stuff.
Yeah. Maybe watch some Marie Kondo and then the magic.
Don't get me started on her, man.
Anyway, okay, I think we should stop the video here. I think we've really talked a lot about this topic. So thanks guys again for listening in. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment and subscribe. Please share your stories about maybe you feel lost as well, and maybe you have some strategies of how you got out of it, or maybe you're still in the thick of it and could use some cheering up.
Or maybe you have a group or something, some suggestions.
Oh yeah,
love to hear it.
Exactly. And we're going to be in our clubhouse for this episode as well. Please follow our social media accounts to see exactly when and where that is, what the link is, and what time we're going to do it. So hopefully see you guys then, and until the next one, thank you. Bye.
Okay, bye.